Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today, man, we got a little special treat for you here where I just got pinged in the SS1-4 server between where we have the EX family going up against PI, I guess the PI group? And a little bit of a war skirmish, I guess, if you will, happening here. We got a Thunder Rock that's been thrown down there from 4G10. We got EXV on the Flame Dragon getting thrown out. That thing is massive and looks sick. You can also see that Fetty's controlling that one. We got Downloading controlling the Thunder Rock over here. And again, applying what seems to be, let me see here, if they're fighting kind of on this, I see. So they're kind of fighting up on a choke at the top of a ramp right now. And let's see, so they're in zone 2. Doesn't seem like anything in zone 3 is happening, so it looks like they're basically pushing out right now and fighting P101 or PI01 and then a 4G10. So you can see EX, let me see how much time they got on the keep here. Ooh, wow, 5 minutes left and then that will be gone. Ooh, little shadow games being thrown out there from Othinus. Let's see. So yeah, not too many people. Again, I'm assuming I probably came in pretty late on the watch here. So, because again, there's not. I mean, they have some, but it looks like probably the final battle, more or less, is. I mean, again, this seems like it's more of just kind of a small skirmish that's happening right now. Let's take a look and see what some of the boards are reflecting here. So, Crovax, #1 player. This is this is Albatros's server. I remember Albatross. So some people, most of the people, looks like on the EX family, you got 3 in the top 9 at P101 or PI01, and then 4 in the top 20, 7, was that 4, 7, 4, 5, 7, top 29, 8, top 30, 8 out of 32. They have 8, 9 out of 37, 9, 10 out of 44. So yeah, you got 11 out of the top 51 players right now that are on that side. Let's look at power here. So, I mean, this isn't that bad. I mean, again, I'm assuming 4G10, I mean, they're a little bit low. So, and again, I'm assuming, let's see the hit squad. Are they with anyone? So they're actually allied with PI01. So HS is here. So you got HS, P101. I don't know where CHA is, who they're with. We'd have to look at where some of the fighting is, but I'd imagine, so you got 1, 3, maybe 5, definitely 6, and then you got 2 with Fruits International, and then Hit Squad and 4G10. So there's about, what, 700 mil difference from 1 to 2, and then you have about a 500 mil, 450, between 4 to 3. Let's look at alliance merits. So PI keeping up pretty well here in the amount of fighting. H&S doing a lot of fighting, a little bit more there than EXS. CHA obviously doing some fighting there too as well. So yeah, basically kind of what, 7 alliances that are doing significant, but top 4, or I should say good, with your top 4 being a little bit more significant in the fighting. You got Crovax just killing it there at almost 32 mil points. That's pretty sick. Mike from EXV at 18.6 mil. So not bad. Let's see what their top 200 looks like for PvP merits. So 1.77 million. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. So, yeah, I mean, again, to me, this seems like it's pretty... If you're looking at the lay of the land, given they have that, and I'm not sure what they have, what their setup here is as far as, well, hey, are they looking to try and, is it one of those things where they're fighting to the death? Essentially, I would imagine if they're trying to push them into zone 2, that is kind of my assumption at this point, just because, and I say that because usually if you are pushing an alliance beyond zone 3, you're either doing it for pretty much one of 2 reasons, with one of those reasons being more likely, is that either you have set up some type of an agreement that says, hey, we're just going to try and destroy whoever we can throughout the entire map, and then once that happens, you guys can just kind of go back to peace, or 2, you're just fighting it to the death because you just don't, I don't want to say don't care, but because you don't have an agreement, right? It's just, hey, we're just going to fight nonstop 24/7 like 7-Eleven. So, and again, it seems as though the advantage, at least for top powered player wise, is kind of in the EX family's camp along with their allies. versus if maybe, as an example, they had some of the top players within EX family, but maybe PI01, 4G10, and HNS maybe had more overall activity, right? That, I think, is always a fun fight to see. I definitely wish I could have been here and seen a little bit more. Let's see if I can ask, hey all, is this a straight up fight to the death, or eliminate? Let's see here. All, I think this is right. Territory or other. So let's see. Let's see if I get a response to that, because the Flame Dragon looks dope, though. I will say that 100%. And if we're looking kind of at how things are going here, you got EXV who's doing the push. HNS is over here. PI01. I wonder if they're pushing them on this front too as well. Maybe we're seeing some fighting here. Wow. So we're not seeing any fighting here on HNS. So I'm curious, are they just focusing there at the top? Interesting. So because there's a connection there. This is EXS. Are they fighting here? Let's see. No fighting there. HNS is... Oh, but they're prepping, though. It looks like they're doing a little bit of building here on their ramp access. Okay. So, interesting. They're not getting pushed on that front. I'm curious, though. Are they trying to push? So, they're not trying to multi-push on multiple fronts there for PI01. 4G10, kind of... so, we're going to have to see. They're not necessarily pushing from that angle. And that's HS. Okay. So it looks like they're kind of, I guess, safer. So they've built out here. I see. So they pretty much have come in here, and they're kind of pushing in one direction right now. Are they not trying to push from other sides? Because, I mean, they pretty much have a lot right now. So let's see here. So they're not pushing there. Are they trying to push behind? There's EXGA right here. Oh, interesting. So they are. Okay, look. So this is what happens when you look around the map and you're trying to kind of get a lay of the land. So they are building here to try and connect, to start hitting them from the flank. Are they trying to build here to connect towers on this one? They're not. Okay, so they're not doing anything there. EXZA maybe did a drop. Are they building? Let's see. So I don't think they're building another one. Okay, they're not. Interesting. EXG is going there. Is somebody building a flag here? Oh no, we just looked at this one. So they're not. Interesting. I think someone pinged me. We're going to read that in a sec. So, FG10, EXN. Interesting. Let's see here. So nothing's happening up here so far. How about here? Is anyone building? So no one's building here trying to remove or disconnect that territory. So maybe this isn't the most aggressive play. Is there fighting happening here? So no fighting there. No fighting at that point. And it doesn't look like... I mean, 4G10 is over here. And they're kind of safely, I guess, built-ish, if you will. I don't think they're attacking anyone. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're building or attacking. Okay, so yeah, we'll read this here in a sec. But it looks like really for the most part, it's I guess mainly just getting pushed in from Zone 3 right here at this point, and then I guess you have a little bit right here of a connection where they're going to try and maybe push through here and just maybe do a disconnect. I mean, they have two areas. I mean, they could disconnect this, but they're not pushing that. So this is interesting to me. Like, maybe it's just a Zone 2 focused area? So let's see. So some people... Let's see what they're saying. They gonna put in zone 1. Anyone on Atherin go teleport to Goru? Yes, they are. Death is... Hey, is this a straight up fight to the death? So it looks like yes, they are, someone said. Okay, so Shadow said that. Tempted to take advantage of Behemoth. Remember Dragon Season 1. EXP said they deserve that. Time to... Let's put out Zone 1. This is I. Okay, so yeah, okay, so it looks like it was. So again, I'm curious if maybe it was. I'm imagining it had to be somewhat. I don't want to say maybe pure straight up fight, but at least based on the numbers, the fighting looked a little bit closer in power, even though obviously still being decent with its, I guess, disproportion when you're looking at just the top. When we looked at just the top 51 players, along with the alliance power, thing was a little bit closer than we've seen in some of the other merged kingdoms, especially for the fights. And man, I wish I could have been there to see the entirety of the fight, because I know there has been quite a bit. And again, man, I mean, really good activity when you're looking at EXV coming out. I mean, and there's EXS that's here as well. I don't know if there's anyone else, but yeah, so far. Yeah, let's get with the Bakshi man coming in strong. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to show you guys what I have. I got some more Sete Flechadas, if I even said that right. So, interesting. Interesting, man. Yeah, I definitely wish I could have caught a bigger fight. But you know what? I'd love to know, and I appreciate those. Thank you guys so much. And for whoever gave me the shout-out, I think this was Santo Poppy who said, this was yesterday. Yeah, when apparently there was some more fighting that was going on. But yeah, man, I mean, this has been, again, I always appreciate anyone who gives me a heads up. Sometimes I'm not always in a position to capture the fighting the moment that it is happening. But again, being able to show you guys at least a little bit, you know, of what's happening and try to give you a little bit of lay of the land for what's happening in some of the kingdoms. You know, I'd like to be able to go into them, and hopefully this is something I can get back into doing more, which is, you know, kind of figuring out what the lay of the land is, and, you know, why fights are happening. You know, what does the kind of the comparisons look like between one group versus another within the kingdom, for kind of how they stack up stat to stat wise. You know, if there's any drama that has maybe ensued, being able to get you guys in with seeing some big kind of all-out battles. You know, for me, that's always been a big enjoyment, and then being able to kind of commentate and talk about the matchups and talk about some of the on-field tactics we're seeing. What are some of the hero compositions? You know, why are we seeing certain artifacts being used? Oh, look at this. Looks like we're going to get maybe a little skirmish. Cool. Maybe we'll watch this one and see what happens here. Looks like maybe a little bit of... Interesting. We're going to have to see. So, this is my thing. I don't know how much I necessarily agree with going in that deep. I think the better... Like, this is the thing, right? If you're going to try and poke, then usually you want to do this at max range, right? And you want to spread out. This is not ideal for them to be coming down this single lane, because just look at all the negative numbers you're seeing. This just means that they're taking an obscene amount of unnecessary AoE damage. And, you know, sure, you can get some nice shadow games kind of going back and forth. Maybe we'll throw some time bombs out that we usually see. One just exploded right there. But this is something that typically you do not want to bunch up like this. This is what we kind of call herding, and you don't want to do that, right? The idea here is that you want to spread out. You kind of want to be like an oval. Not an oval. You want to be like the moon shape, a crescent moon, right? Where you're kind of forming this line, a curved line, where you are keeping yourself at max distance, and then realistically spreading out as much as possible. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do 1-for-1s, right? You're not going to be able to have like one, you know, you're not going to do 1-1-1-1-1-1-1. You may have to eventually do some overlapping, but the idea is that you're spreading out enough so that way, and this is actually well timed. I probably would have thrown the giant down earlier, I actually maybe would have even thrown it down here in the middle and done that while you're attacking, so you can do some disruption, and then you're kind of single target fire focusing. And that's really what you kind of should be doing as well, right? In these situations, you're going for the person who's overextending the most, while at the same time you are spreading out. Like this kind of bunching, I would spread out like this along here, and then once you need to start stacking marches or legions, we should say, on top of one another, then you do that, right? But you shouldn't be looking to stack them initially. You spread out so you reduce the amount of overall AoE damage that you're taking, meaning that you're then in a better position to go ahead and deal damage. And this actually isn't a bad play by them. They're getting some disruption. You're seeing some retreating that's happening too as well. Again, this actually isn't bad right now. It's just PI01 could actually be taking more advantage of this situation than what they're doing right now. And it almost makes me wonder, from just seeing this interaction on EXV retreating, because this is the thing, EXV actually doesn't really need to retreat in this case. If they could play this, well, let me be clear here. They can approach this one of a couple ways. Retreating is an option if they just want to burn the cooldown timer for the behemoth, right? That is something they could do. And then they can fight out of the behemoth's range. The second option is they have everyone, if they're coordinated well enough, they have everyone focus fire the giant down, regardless of whatever type of damage they're taking, so they can get rid of it as fast as possible. And then they can go back to start hitting the other players. Or option 3, which is that they have a dedicated team that is there to aggro pull giant. For example, maybe they're using, and I would assume that Harlequin Mass still it takes effect, even regardless if you have a Beastmaster controlling the behemoth or not. So you'd have a group of people that are just running, probably your fast cav, that are running Harley Quinn Mass, so that way they can aggro pull the giant, so it's focus firing on them, or taunting them, essentially is what it does. And then from there, you can go ahead and pull it. And look at this, they're already taking down a nice chunk of the giant already, but think about how much faster the giant would have been taken down if, instead of everyone leaving, and this to me is, I think, just a misplay, in my opinion, on the EX fam, is try and have, think about it, they probably had 100 marches, maybe 75, 80 marches, give or take, there, right, before everyone started leaving. Think about if they just had everyone start focus firing the giant, right, how fast they'd burn the giant down. And so this, to me, is a good play by PI01, right? The only thing I would say here is, again, spreading out. This really requires a level of micromanaging with your marches. This is one of the reasons why when you watch CoD PvP, it is so much different, and in my opinion, better for where the potential is on skill sets, on just overall tactics, on level of strategy. You need to be better with how you're conducting PvP in CoD, because it demands more due to you having the opportunity to do it in CoD a lot more than in other kingdom builders, right? And so micromanaging your units, because this is the thing, what you're seeing right now is basically most likely them just double-clicking their unit, it selects all of them, and then they're moving all of them at once. The better play here is to individually control and move your units, very similar to a traditional RTS game, where you're clicking, you're moving, you're clicking, you're moving, you're clicking. So it's like I click here, go there, click here, go there, click here, go there, click here, go there. And you're spreading out constantly, right? Like a traditional RTS. So these are things that probably in most cases are actually easier to do on mobile in a degree, because you could actually select 2 units with your thumbs, right, at the same time, compared to if you're on PC, where you kind of have to click, or you'd have to do a shortcut key and then click as well. So there are some advantages on mobile, just logically speaking, but it probably maybe evens out, give or take. It's not as detrimental as some people may claim that it is. I often hear some players say that, which, hey, well, it's a little bit easier on the PC client, and maybe in some regards it is, but not entirely. And so here, you're actually getting PI01 that has been able to kind of retake. In this situation, the best play right now is to do a few things. You need to coordinate where you are not, like these types of situations should not be happening, where you're just kind of getting picked off. What you want to do is you want to withdraw a little bit, so you pull those units into you, or deeper into your territory, and then you're able to then either counter with numbers, or you're able to have a group that's already set up. So the moment they push in, now you're focus firing them. That's the big thing here, is that these players should not be sitting back. You should be forming a line, so that way you're taking advantage of this choke point. Where the moment, like, this is the thing, you want to spread out along here, so you're hitting them on the choke point. Why? Because the choke point forces them to overlap each other, or herd, so that way you're able to do more AoE damage than they're able to do to you. And then you need to have a team that's set up to basically watch the flanks. This is why in CoD, it's amazing, because the game requires, like I've been saying and will always say, it requires a higher level and a higher standard of tactics, of strategy, and skill sets than other kingdom builders do, in my opinion. And for some of the reasons I've mentioned, and for what you're seeing right now, this is something that, again, PI01 and HS and anyone else who's kind of coming into fight could actually be taking a little bit more advantage of this situation right now. And again, right, who knows maybe what the level, their player levels are right now. As far, I would imagine most of these people probably have T4 at minimum, give or take, if not more. So again, this is something that, this is fun to see. It's just, man, I really wish we could be seeing a little bit, and we will over time, where we'll eventually be able to watch alliances and players, being able to kind of show us and get to a point where we're seeing those additional layers and levels of tactical play, of awareness, of coordination, of organization, of structure. And whereas I'm sure PI01 has some of that, and maybe in this moment, maybe not all of them are able to get on voice. Maybe they haven't prepped their players ahead of time with using reactions or emojis, or giving them game plans on how we go about fighting situations and battles, even if we're not able to be on voice and we kind of have to just go off what the lay of the land is. Like, you can still do a lot of work there if you prep appropriately, so that way everyone can be informed before you actually start fighting. These are things you can do, and you do not always have to solely rely on, well, hey, everyone needs to be in voice for us to do the best job we can. Even though, yes, you will be able to do a better job if you get everyone in voice, it doesn't mean that you still can't do and have levels of structure and coordination when you're on the battlefield. It's just, again, it takes work, because you have to inform people and educate people on how to do these things. So yeah, in this situation, again, like I said, I think PI01 has good numbers, especially if they're rallying at this moment, to the point of where they could push them off of here. And this is the thing, just pick them off one by one. Like, this is something where you just basically move your units and you come over here, and then you start hitting these flying units one by one. Cool, you pick them off. Now you go ahead and you take the numbers advantage over here in the middle for like Demors, Savage, Amsterdam, right? And you start picking these off. Focus firing is very important, because it's going to allow for you to, again, very similarly to how you would spread out, you are dealing more damage to them than they're doing to you. And so because of that, the advantage itself lends the situation or scales more in your favor. So yeah, where are we at? 22, man, I'm almost at 22. That's actually pretty cool. I'm actually really happy that we stayed, because I was about to cut this off before we started looking at the other units that are coming in. And again, let me point out, I really do like the fact that the EX fam, Luna, and whomever else was doing that is kind of flanking with flying. I think they should have a little bit more flying that they would need. I would say at least 10 to 20 units if possible is always nice, because then you could actually come around and do more flanking where you're kind of taking them out while you also have a front force. I think the one thing that we're seeing very underutilized is flying units. And bear in mind, it's not as though we have the best of the best hero compositions for running flying, but it is something that you still can do, right? And in these cases where you're seeing, typically like Atheist, it's usually like Atheist, Thea, Atheist, Craig, and let me see, I don't even know if there's another flying here. Here you go, right? So here's Atheist, Thea. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's Thea. I gotta make sure here. Let's see. Yeah, it is. So I was like, okay, so I had to make sure I had the name right. So you're seeing Atheist Thea usually is what you typically see. Before that, it was like Atheist Craig or Craig Atheist as an example for what you would usually see. And I'm sure we're going to see more as well as more heroes come out. But my point is that if you think about every player that's out here on the battlefield running at least one flying unit, you could have 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 units that you're just single micromanaging around, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Those are like, when you look at something like traditional StarCraft 2, right? Or StarCraft RTS, which is, you could make the argument StarCraft is kind of the pinnacle of competitive and professional traditional RTS that is played at a professional level for the quality. And I mean, other games like Warcraft and Age of Empires, Command & Conquer, there's others that fall into that category as well. But when you watch like pro RTS, let's just say traditional RTS, and usually StarCraft, for what I like to watch, is you're seeing a lot of that micromanaging. You're seeing a lot of like high APM, which is your actions per minute. These are things that you actually, to a lesser degree, and in some areas just as much, have the opportunity to do, even though you're not using, obviously, as many units or having to micro that much around. But this is something that, again, we could be seeing. We're just not in this exact moment in time. But it will be great, I think, once we get to kind of situations where we do start seeing more of that, because I think that's really going to open up the potential and the capabilities of the game from a strategic standpoint a lot more than probably what we're usually seeing, at least in its current state. So, all right, we're at 25 minutes now. I think I'm going to cut this so I can, go and upload and do some more video stuff. But let me pass the question before I go ahead and get off, as always, which is, if you're in SS1-4, I'd love to hear, right, how did the Zone 3 fight go? How is Zone 2 going now? Again, it seems as though the idea is just kind of fighting to the death. They're just kind of wanting to kind of kill off PI01. I'm assuming that may extend to 4G10 and maybe HS as well in Zone 2. So how has the fighting been going? Have you guys been able to get a lot of people in voice when it comes to the coordination? And then, sure, hit me up with any drama. If there's, hey, our side, feels cheated, or we got this or that, or got the short end of the stick, or, I mean, again, right, as we talked about, the advantage kind of is in the AX family if we're just looking at kind of top player distribution, at least when we looked at the kind of small sample size of the top 51. But anything and everything. Let me know, even if you're just an onlooker, what do you think about some of the points I made or some of the topics there when it comes to strategy and kind of what we're seeing? Do you feel like PI01 could have actually been in a little bit better of a situation with kind of reducing some of their own troop loss or some of the points I made? And anything and everything, right? Let me know. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.